You're listening to the Outside the Box podcast
with Mike, Gwen, Alex, and Lee from Outside the Box Associates.
Every month, your host will have a real-world discussion about rights and topics that many of us take for granted.
From a different perspective, the lens of disability advocacy.
It may look a little different,
but we live, we laugh, and we love just like everyone else.
And we share the same rights as everybody else.
Join us as we explore the practical aspects of these rights.
It may just change your perspective. Hi, everyone, and welcome to Outside the Box podcast. I'm Mike Rogers.
I'm Alex Jesco.
My name is Lee Hartley.
Hi, Lee. Hi, Alex.
What's up?
So when we think of intelligence, what do we originally think of? We think of our brain, something we learn. Well, we know now that machines are starting to learn. We call that artificial intelligence. Mm-hmm. And today we're going to talk a little bit about that.
Yep.
So what do you guys think AI or artificial intelligence can do positively for people with disabilities?
So as far as my view on AI and people with disabilities, I really think that it can do a lot as far as being able to do tasks, very simple tasks for people with disabilities. For instance, my Roomba, I would consider AI because it actually is smart enough to map out my room and vacuum, in the right places and all that kind of stuff. So even though, I don't know if, I guess we should define what AI is in the sense of how we want to look at this, because like I would consider Roomba AI, but a lot of people probably wouldn't.
Yeah, I would, for the sake of this podcast, I would say that AI is something that is doing things, in a learning nature, whether it be rudimentary or way up, in the sky as far as technology. I'm looking at it that way.
Okay, so in that case, I would say that my Roomba example is actually a good example because my Roomba actually learned the map of my living space in order to vacuum. So in that way, things like that have helped. Plus, we have things like now like self-driving cars, which I would consider AI as well because they're doing a bunch of different tasks, not just driving, but also like making sure that there's no people around when they go and they stop, and traffic and all that stuff. Although it's not very good right now, to be honest. Self-driving cars have had a history of kind of going nuts a bit and exploding and things like that and whatnot. However, for somebody like me that doesn't drive, a self-driving car would be a really cool thing. So as we progress into the future, I believe those kind of things specifically for me would be great. Beyond that, I also believe that AI will also end up teaching one day, teaching people, the stuff we learned in school, So I do think there will be a lot of education as far as like virtual educators, that kind of thing. But I also feel like we can take it a bit too far as well. So, but we'll get to that, I'm sure.
Yeah, look, you were talking specifically about self-driving cars.
Mm-hmm.
That is something I think that can revolutionize the lives of people with disabilities, because then we can make sure that our public transportation, first of all, is more efficient. It could be a self-driving fleet,
Mm-hmm.
or an accessible vehicle for, individual people with disabilities.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Absolutely.
yeah, whether it be a truck, van, whatever, and they don't have to depend on a human to drive it.
Absolutely. And that would save us a
Yeah,
ton.
but
Is absolutely. Go ahead.
I think understanding a phasic speech like mine would be helpful.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, some an intelligence that could decipher difficult, like
Spoken
you
word.
have a little difficult speaking. It can kind of decipher that and figure it out,
Yeah.
and then it just makes it work, or something.
I'd be curious to see if they actually already have something like that. Have you ever looked into that, Lee? As far as like, you know, other technology out there, that kind of thing. Also, I think we can talk a little bit, Lee, too, about what you use right now as far as how
Hey,
you communicate. One of the things that you use artificial intelligence all the time to speak in a variety of ways. Because it's
yes.
not, yeah, it's not just um it's just not just repeating what you're saying, it's putting it together in a coherent sentence. So that's cool.
Yeah, and they're sounding more lifelike now, because back in the day, back in the '80s or early '90s, they're like
Yeah,
and now they're sounding like, what is it?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like that, like that. But now, but now they sound like Morgan Freeman or something like
Yeah,
that.
you can make it sound like anything, which is great.
Yeah. I think that's something more and more people can use, and they're able to use a lot of these things on an iPad now or
Hmm.
a tablet. So that they can do these certain things. I think it's awesome.
Hmm.
I've also heard where they're developing an aid service robot to like
Oh,
help out with personal care and stuff like that or whatever.
oh, interesting. Um, now when it comes to like artificial help in that regard, as far as robots are concerned, what are your thoughts on that one?
Well, I think that they can be good in some ways, especially with a world that is low on people that are working in the care field.
Hmm.
I think it could be good for some things, but you know, I I wonder to what's you know sophistication
Hmm.
they're at now that they could actually do something like that. I mean, I don't want something grabbing my leg and ripping my foot off or something. Oh, I didn't know that I was holding on. Sorry, sir.
Right, entirely. Yeah. That's my concern with uh robot human interaction. It's like, are they aware of the fact that, with enough pressure, with enough force, that they can actually do some serious damage to human beings that are
Yeah, do
weaker?
they? Is there enough built now that they can actually differentiate that? Because if not, I don't want it yet. If they're gonna,
Exactly.
oh, I'm gonna help you put your shirt on, sir, and rip your arm off or something.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. No, I'm not a boxer. You know, this is flesh. So,
Right.
so yeah, I don't know. I don't know, but I think there could be many things, and there are many things now. Even reading technology for people to help them read.
Hmm.
There's the AI. The chat programs now that can
Yep.
help you write. They
Yep.
can they can there are so many things. Um, there are so many things that can be done these days.
Yeah. Actually, this just occurred to me just now, so I don't have any research on it, unfortunately. However, there is a guy who didn't have use of one of his one of his eyes, and so they implanted him with a cybernetic eye, so he's able to see out of that eye. They attached the technology to his optical nerve, and he's able to see through that eye. So it's cool.
And like 2020 vision.
I don't know that, but I do know that he can see. So something.
Wow,
So yeah,
that's
kind of
pretty. That's
kind of
pretty.
I
neat.
think it would be interesting if AI could control a bad guy.
Control of what?
Bidet.
A bidet.
A bidet? Why? I need to know why. I need the full explanation on that one, Lee.
Why? What is that? Oh, I don't even want to think about what that means.
I mean, one thing's for sure,
Lee.
your butt would be really clean, or not.
I
That's
mean,
funny.
from a distance. I mean,
Ah,
we have fun on this channel.
we do.
Every once in a while, there's some good ones that come up. That's a good one, Lee.
Yeah.
We'll have to bring that back to the manufacturers. But let me just one moment. I want to do one thing. All right. Okay. So we kind of talked about this a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What AI do we currently use and why? Lee talked a little bit earlier about his device that he uses to talk or helps him speak.
Right.
Yes.
Yep. We covered self-driving cars, um, the chatbots, which by the way, those I find those to be good and bad because there are some chatbots that are great that help out with a lot of things, and there are some chatbots that are just kind of not so great in certain situations. So what I mean by this essentially is there was a suicide hotline, I believe, that was using an AI to help people who were feeling that wanted to unalive themselves, essentially.
Yeah.
And so they put the chatbot on the hotline and realized very quickly that it was not good at its job because it did not understand, uh, you know, that these people were in pain, that they were hurting.
Yeah,
So
the
it was,
emotion.
yeah, it was taking everything from a logical point of view instead of sympathizing and empathizing with the person, helping, letting them get help. So that would be an example of a bad use of AI, essentially.
Yeah, I remember, and I guess you could call that this artificial intelligence. I remember when I was going to high school, a friend of mine used a word prediction program. So you type a couple letters and it would predict a word.
Uh,
And now it's gotten all the way up to, like the dictation programs. I use them a lot. I use them on my phone to, type something up
mhm.
quicker. I use them. Um, I use them to turn on my lights because I consider, um, the assistance kind of dictation programs because they take what you say and they spit back an
Right.
answer in a way. So I use them to turn on my lights, get information. Um, I use one high powered um, voice dictation software to type longer things. I'm not going to use any names, but
Are we not using names for legal purposes or
uh, I was thinking I was probably,
okay.
but maybe we can figure out how to say that in the future.
Okay.
Edit this out, okay? Um,
That's fine.
but and that is really helpful, and they've grown over the years. All of these things
Mm.
have. So
Are you specifically referring to Siri? Not the voice dictation, but the other thing you were talking about,
um
like turning on your
well,
lights and things like that.
yeah. Well, I use Google, so I use the Google Assistant.
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah. And I have one of them little speakers, so they take on the dictation and they turn on the lights or whatever, and that's
Gotcha.
very helpful. That's very helpful.
Now, Mike, are you ever concerned about like people hacking into your Google Home and messing with your stuff and things like that? Because it is technology. So,
I
do you ever have concern about
You
that?
know what? You know what is interesting about that, and I tell everybody, including myself, to try to guard against some of that when you're answering emails and different things.
Hmm.
But as far as all this goes, um, my opinion is that the cat is already out of the box, and just be just be smart with your information the best that you can. I know that things can be hacked, but they can hack anything.
True.
I believe that anything can be hacked. I
True.
don't think that anything's 100% foolproof. So you got to give some of that away, that security, for the convenience of some of these technologies.
Fair enough. Okay. Lee, do you have any thoughts on the matter?
I think it would not be helpful if they were soldiers.
Oh, that's fair. Yeah, I would agree with that. Mostly because one EMT or EMP, which is an electromagnetic pulse for those of you that don't know, and you basically destroy an entire army potentially, or any electronic. So
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because when we talk about um what can go wrong with the technology is, I think, making it too powerful. Like, I heard years ago that IBM's artificial intelligence doesn't have full access to the internet, so that it doesn't have all that repository of knowledge.
yeah, that's probably a good thing. Also,
And they can
considering the fact too that the internet is very unfiltered, and there's not always accurate information out there, so you don't know what
and
they would
they
learn.
and they can kind of control what it has access to. So I think that's good. Yeah, I
Absolutely.
don't think anything should ever have power over weapons to that extent.
I agree. Although I do think I mean, there are situations where it is helpful. I know that our military uses, or a military uses rather, um, like a laser guidance system to take down nuclear bombs as they're flying through the air. Like it's a laser targeted nuclear bomb destruction thing. I
Yeah,
don't know
yeah,
what to call it, but that's a form of AI as well. So
sure, sure. Well, I guess that's where the ethical debate comes in. How far do you go?
yeah,
How far do you let it go? And what are the uses?
yep.
You know, because I know they've been trying to think of robot soldiers for a while, and you know now that the technology is there, I'm sure they're developing them.
I mean, I'm sure you guys have seen those security bots that they have, like in Japan and whatever, where they look like they're wandering trash cans, and they're just like security bots to make sure people are doing what they're supposed to do. I don't know how they work, but they're like these big round trash can like looking things that basically just make sure that people are okay. It's very strange. And then there's also those big boxy dog things that I've seen people use as a form of like security
Yeah,
as
yeah.
well.
The dogs, the yellow and white dogs.
Yeah, yeah, they look horrible. They look like boxes with legs, but they're still functional, so that's cool.
Yeah, yeah. I've seen the gray and the black ones too. They got all different colors,
Yeah,
and but they're fast and everything.
yeah,
Wow.
they are. And they can walk on uneven surfaces. They can do all sorts of things. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah. So what would you like to see AI be for people with disabilities? If you had a wish list, what would it be?
Um, for me personally, I mean, I'd like to see improvements as far as medical, like medical evolution, using AI to like help people with cancer and with disabilities, that kind of thing. You know, um, people have already been talking about nanobots and stuff, getting rid of cancerous cells and things like that. I would like to see more of a evolution with that specifically. Beyond that, any kind of technology that would help people with disabilities as far as getting around, having access to the world, you know, making things easier, that kind of thing. Um, we already have like bionic arms for people that are missing limbs and things like that. However, that can always be improved upon and be more cost effective as well. I think that's one big thing we could put AI to work with is like how do we make things more cost effective, but also still sustainable for the world economy as a whole.
Yeah, I think in some situations, robotic workers are great if, of course, you keep the humans still employed, of course. So
Right.
I think that's something where we can see better production, and I think that you, as far as people with disabilities go, anything automated that can help, where you don't need necessarily a worker all the time, if that's what situation you're in,
Right.
um, you know to level the playing field in jobs, help with reading and different things like that.
Yep.
AI helping you write, even though it would be your thoughts, but they would help you write and different things like that. Because
Yep.
I think that could help the employment field be more equal
Absolutely. Absolutely.
for people with intellectual disabilities and different things like that.
Yep. Lee, what about you? What do you think?
And like with an efficient AI army like Nazi Germany, people with disabilities would be the first to be eliminated.
Assuming that they would have awareness of themselves and awareness of what they were doing. Um, yeah. But you have to remember too that oftentimes, especially in its infancy, robotics is typically, robots only know what to do because of the people programming them. So at
Yeah,
least
yeah.
initially.
You bring up a good point there, though. If we were to be eliminated by the AI, you're right. They would probably make the same assumptions that other tyrants have made. Well, we're going to get rid of the people with disabilities because they're not efficient and
Yeah.
different things like that. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
So I think it'll be interesting to see where this technology goes. I know in government that it's been brought up that this needs to be regulated, so you just can't go all over with this stuff and
Hmm.
go beyond what may be okay, probably to keep the whole Terminator situation from happening.
Yeah.
Yeah. My concern, and I'll voice this openly, my concern with our world, I mean, we have the internet, right? So in that way, that is a big source, a big pool of AI, if you will. Um, but with that, we know that with the internet comes hackers and people that can manipulate technology in bad ways. And so I feel like there's got to be some safeguards in that way in order to protect people and ourselves from having that being used against us. You know what I mean?
Sure,
Fail safes.
sure.
So,
I totally agree with that. I totally agree with that.
yeah. So,
So I think this was a good conversation. I think I think it would be cool one day, and I'm putting this out there. if we could get anybody that is involved with AI and doing any work with that to come on, please get in contact with us. It would be great to have a conversation.
Yeah, that would be awesome. We would really appreciate it. For sure. Lee, did you have any final thoughts on the matter? Anything you want to say?
Yes,
Cool.
I feel it might helpful if we had asexual partners.
AI sexual partners. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. No,
So AI sex toys essentially is what you're saying. Okay.
that
Yeah.
would be, yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
very,
I'd be down.
very, very interesting.
As long as they don't do anything that would harm me in the process, I'm fine.
There's got to be no artificial teeth
Yeah.
involved in any of that.
Yeah, I don't I don't want to hear saw blades going off as we're doing things. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yes.
Mhm.
Yes, yes. No, but I'm sure that's been explored already,
Yeah.
Actually, I can tell you that in Japan they have AI that does that already. They're really not much different than regular sex toys at this point, but they do have AI that are kind of like that, where you can do what you need to do with the virtual person.
Yeah. Well,
Oh.
it
Also-
makes me think of a couple of movies that we've seen in the past.
Yeah. One of the also this for some reason this triggered something. One of the things too that we didn't talk about is VR.
Yeah,
You know, how VR is changing the way people do art and interact with each other and all that kind of stuff. I mean, there's a lot of VR out there right now. I mean, as long as you have an internet connection and a headset, and some kind of platform, you can basically meet anybody and look like anybody, and it's kind of
Yeah.
cool because
yeah, it is. But it also makes you think, how far away from each other do we want to be? I've often thought about that too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Although it's good for a lot of us to be able to interact, is it just another way to, huddle in the corner kind of, and we're not getting together as much, because we have technology.
Right.
But
Right.
is that enough?
It depends. I mean, I think there should be a fair balance of each. I don't think it should just be technology or human interaction. Just like today. I mean, I went to Spot Coffee, but given this technology we have right now, I mean, the three of us are literally staring at each other through a screen right now. So, I
May
mean,
I butt in? May I?
absolutely, you can butt in.
May I point out Lawnmower Man?
Oh, Lawnmower Man, where the person got put into the computer. Yes.
What is this? Is this a movie? What is this? I don't know
Yes.
the reference. Okay.
Lawnmower Man was a movie where in the 90s, where this guy put himself in the computer.
Was that a Johnny Depp movie? I've seen something similar to this a while ago.
I don't know who starred in it,
Okay.
but yeah. So there's positives and negatives for everything.
Yeah.
But I bet you people thought about that about automobiles, computers, everything.
Yep. For sure. Well, guys, this has been great. I appreciate the talk. My steak just dinged. It's in the oven, so I'm gonna let you guys go. But
Okay.
Lee, did you have any final thoughts on the matter? Are you good?
Oh,
No? Okay, cool. All right.
Okay. All right.
You guys have a wonderful night. We'll talk soon,
You
everybody.
too. All right. Thank you.
bye-bye.
Bye.
You've been listening to the Right of the Month podcast with Mike, Alex, and Gwen from Outside the Box Associates. The Right of the Month podcast airs every Thursday and Saturday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern here on Heartability Radio. Listen on Live 365 or www.heartabilityradio.com. We'll see you next time.